Look at that. I even hit the woo button without it looping 100 times. We're starting to figure out how to fly this plane here. Reusse Unchained presented
And
by Josh
I
Arnold.
and I have the internet on at home, and I got the airplane mode in, so I got
Look at
everything
us.
set up, so it probably will not get blipped out again like we usually do. So the home run derby, which I didn't even consider watching last night. Apparently, our biggest controversy was somebody screwed up the national anthem, and I agree fully with Judd. Why do we need a national anthem before home run derby? Who gives a damn? Don't
Yeah.
give me a that was stupid. It was a good thing the game wasn't in Canada. We would have had two national anthems
Real
before
quick.
the.
I know you're going to rant about something totally different, but since we're on the subject, all right, I love America as much as the next guy,
Yes,
but
right.
we cheapen the national anthem
Yes,
when
we
we do
do.
it before a hot dog eating contest and a home
Yes,
run derby. Let's
yes,
save it
yes.
for the
That's
World
right.
Series, save it for the
Yes,
Super Bowl, save it for the big
yes.
events.
Yeah, it's and then it's a contest. I mean, the other night at the Lynx game, this woman was excellent. I don't know. She was kind of a local blues singer or something. I don't know. I never heard of her. She was great, but it went on forever. Come
Yeah,
on,
this is the
you know.
problem. They need to start the clock. There, and I'm
Yeah,
not
right.
joking. There needs to be a
Yeah,
clock.
a minute and a half. A minute and a
Yep.
half.
And
Anyway,
when
Yeah.
that runs
anyway.
out, song's done.
But here's my problem: since the 1970s, has there ever been a sport where the players are dedicated to doing nothing to help promote the game like baseball? Is there anything like baseball players who don't give a damn about the game? They just want their paychecks. You got a home run derby last night, and you got Otani and Judge, right? We never even considered the possibility of those two guys participating. Now, maybe the format is screwed up, but what if Otani and Judge are in the home run derby? I'm going to watch it, right?
Hey, Pat,
Otherwise, I don't care. I mean, Bobby Witt, a great player. I don't want to watch Bobby Witt hit home runs.
those guys said no.
Well, of course they did.
So
They
players are
always say
pulling
no.
out now, like the slam dunk contest was.
Yes, 700 million for Otani, 360 million for Judge.
Yep.
So you got a billion, 60 million, and they never even consider doing anything to promote the game. It might this idea that it's going to screw up their swing, and no, it's just that they don't want to. They don't feel they have any obligation to promote the game. They pat two little kids on the head when they come down before batting practice, and they think they're helping sell the game. They're the worst. They've always been the worst about they're the most arrogant about their sport of anybody.
Yeah.
That they have no obligation to promote the game, and it's always been that way since they had the brutal battles with Marvin and the owners in the 70s, and it's never changed. We're now 50 years into it's not my problem. I mean,
I got
Pete Alonso might be a goofball, but he's what, 4 straight years he's trying to hit home runs, so he didn't do it well last night. But these Judge and Otani, where are they? And you're right, Judge. It's Judd. It's the same as the slam dunk. Why do we have a slam dunk contest anymore if you're not going to get the real slam dunkers in
There was a
there?
G League player in it this last year, right? The
Yeah.
NBA literally had a G League player in the dunk contest.
Well,
I got it. To your point about baseball's arrogance too, and I mean, ultimately, they need to reconnect with younger fans. The numbers are there and everything that younger fans
yes.
don't consider baseball. It's not like 25 or 50 years ago. I got a text from a friend who has, I think, a 10-year-old son, nine-year-old son.
Mhm.
And he said, interesting snapshot of baseball last night. My son is obsessed with baseball. He buys cards, loves going to games, wants to play catch, and play home run derby in the backyard. And so a few weeks ago, I told him about the home run derby on TV, and he was so excited for a couple weeks. So we turned it on last night, and he says after 20 minutes, Dad, this is taking forever. I'll just watch the highlights later tonight on
Yes,
YouTube.
right. And I was just going to say that because the whole young audience, I mean, and young being anyone under 30, all they want to watch is the highlights. So, at least last night, if you got Judge and Otani in there, they're watching highlights for a week, right? To see those two guys try to hit
Yes.
home runs. They're not watching highlights for a week to see Bobby Witt and whoever the hell he was in against the final. I don't even know. So it's I mean, Bobby Witt, great player, all that, but God Almighty, they don't promote their game at all. It's amazing.
And why is it such an elaborate thing now, though? Like they should, to your point, Pat, they should get Otani and Judge and maybe two more guys, and
Yes,
that should be the Derby. Just
yeah,
get it done with. Nobody. I mean, Phil's friend's kid is 100% right. His statement is a reflection of if you're 10 or if you're 54. Nobody wants to sit there and watch a bunch of guys. And the other thing too is, get your own pitcher. Your dad can pitch to you. Get professional pitchers that can lay it in there that are going to be equal to everybody, and let's get this thing going.
hmm Well, I assumed that I didn't, as I say, I didn't watch a minute last night. But I don't, I get a hardcore baseball fan. I didn't even consider watching a minute of it when I saw who was hitting.
Yeah.
I didn't care about them.
So yeah,
And
it's
but it went on. ESPN just hours because some years it's had better ratings than the All-Star game, right? But certainly not last night, I wouldn't think. But
I'll bet you Monday Night Raw, WWE Monday Night Raw crushed it last night. And
okay,
tonight,
and tonight they'll get a 6 share, 7 share, 8, something like that, right? They'll get the same share as Caitlin Clark gets for playing a basketball game tonight. So
well, I bet if you put it's network TV versus if you were to put, let's say, on ESPN and ESPN2, so it's more apples to apples. If you were to put a Caitlin Clark Fever versus Phoenix game up against the Major League Baseball All-Star game, it would be a fight, if not a win for the WNBA.
Yeah, they're. I don't. It's amazing how much trouble they are. And of course, they're in as much trouble in this market as anywhere because there's a few of these places where you can't watch them on television, which is also we've went on and on about that. But as far as promoting your product, the players, it's certainly the people who run the game, but it's also the players. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about you. Your kid comes down there and, oh, he was such a nice guy. He said hello to my kid and he signed an autograph, and that's it. That's all Otani and Judge feel like they got to do. They don't have to promote the game by having the home run derby. I don't know what the ratings is. Let's say the ratings is 6. If you got those two guys, it's a 15. If you got those two guys, it's because they're the only guys we want to see. Those two brutes go against each other, and they never even considered having that situation. So
Here's how dire it is for baseball. I'm a ball guy my whole life, right?
Yeah.
I will be glued tonight to the World Series of Poker main event final table on the Poker Go app before I will ever flip over to the Major League Baseball All-Star.
They got a little time of game problem too. The World Series of Poker.
You can call clock on opposing. This is where baseball should steal some of this.
Yes.
If Pat's taking too long to decide on a hand, I can call clock, and he now has 30 seconds, a timer to make his decision.
My gal Danny Anderson from Lake Crystal ended up 132nd, and that was worth over $100,000, I think.
She was like the third woman left, I think, in the tournament.
I did a column on her about I think almost 7 years ago now. But she's a mom. Took her kid to school in the morning, then went down and played poker and looked for a game.
Yeah.
And if she usually picked him up at school afterwards. But if she had some rube at the table that was throwing away a lot of money, she'd have a friend that had to go pick up the kid.
Yeah, you can't. It's an ATM machine at that point. You can't leave the table.
Hey, is online poker back again now, or is it still illegal?
Well, it's legal in. I'm not as plugged into the scene anymore. It's legal in Nevada. It's legal in, I think, New Jersey and maybe Delaware, but it's federally not legal, and it's illegal in most states.
You have to be in those states then?
Yeah. You have to have an IP address picked up in those states.
because she got started. That's how she got started. Is you know she was with her husband to be down at Illinois State, and they had no money,
Yeah.
and she one day played. He'd been playing some online poker. He'd been playing some poker with his buddies, and they were all terrible. But she won some money against them and found out she was a better poker player than they were, and then. So she started playing to supplement their income. She started playing online poker and was making like an extra $80 a week or something, which to them was good
Yeah.
money. But that's how she started. And eventually they've ended up moving out to Vegas, where he's a football coach at a local high school, and she goes and plays poker. So
It's so hard now because if you're playing poker online in 2024, you're probably really good at poker, right? It's not like 20 years ago when it was unregulated and anyone could just like put their credit card in after a couple
okay.
beers at night and it's like there's been a lot of top professional players that have even kind of drifted away from the game because you're literally sitting at a table with a bunch of other guys who are professional poker
Oh,
players or
really? So
gals.
it's hard to find it's hard to find the mark. In other words, the
Yeah.
guy
The
that's
sucker at the table is a little
the guy
harder
that's going
to
to come
identify.
in. Yeah. Do you know how goofy that town has gotten as far as needing new casinos? The Mirage is getting torn down. The
Yeah.
Mirage
Have
was
you
like,
seen the footage of what's happening on the casino floor? Because they
what is
have to
the
get rid of
Mirage?
they have to get rid of their bonuses. So there's people fighting over slot machines this week. I think by tomorrow they have to like unload millions
Old
of dollars in
ladies
bonuses.
Oh, really?
punching each
Yeah.
other.
But the Mirage is what, 30 years old, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the Steve Wynn's first place. The last time I was out there 10 years. Hey, where you staying? The Mirage. Now they're tearing it down.
Hard Rock
It's
What
bottom.
crazy.
to build an even bigger monster or something? What are they going
That's
to
what it
do?
sounds like.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. So is the one? There's one next door to Encore. Is that going down too? Are they tearing them? They
Well,
must be tearing them both
the
down.
win and the encore are still in
Oh,
service,
okay, okay.
and
Mirage
then the
was Steve
Mirage is
Wynn's.
dead.
Mirage is Steve Wynn's kind of original, though, isn't it? The one that made him big
Yeah.
originally. I think it was.
In
Yeah.
the 90s, like early, wasn't it built early 90s? I want to say it was like
Yeah.
it's right. It was the Mirage and the Sands was
This
still
isn't
around.
like tearing down the Lady Luck or one of those places. Still my favorite moment in Vegas with my smart ass brother. We're playing at the Bellagio, playing cards at the Bellagio, and the woman in the suit is the Bellagio had fresh flowers, and it was only about 2 years old. And she said, "What do you think of the Bellagio not the of Bellagio
Bellagio, yeah.
gentlemen?" And my brother, who by then it was noon, so he had a few beers in him. He says, "Oh, I love this place. It reminds me a lot of the Lady Luck." He said, "Which is just dying downtown. That everybody's walking in. The homeless guys are walking in and playing." And she was mortified. She didn't talk to him the rest of the hands we were playing there. So.
By the way, the Mirage opened Thanksgiving week 1989,
Oh, really? So it's
and
35 years.
It's old.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
it's like stadiums now. Yeah, if you built a
Yeah.
stadium in the 80s or 90s,
Yeah,
you're
right. I
or
mean,
something
Target
else.
Center. How could we have the same year the Target Center opened?
Yep.
No, wait, the Target Center opened in '90, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
but just around the
they
same
played
time.
their first year at the Dome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
The first
Yeah.
big permanent residency there was Siegfried and Roy from 1990 through '03.
Yes.
Is that where one of those guys got eaten by a tiger?
Yeah, he got it. I was
Maimed
out
or
there.
something?
I was. Where did we see them though? When we got married out there, and Ryan came along as the best man, and we had tickets for Siegfried and Roy, and Katie decided on her honeymoon she didn't want to go. She wanted to stay back and read. So Ryan and I went and saw Siegfried and Roy. It must have been at the Mirage then. I think it was.
So then it's fun going through this history. So the Mirage opened November 22nd, '89. Steve Wynn previously scheduled a Christmas week opening, but changed those plans after securing Sugar Ray Leonard against Roberto Duran in
That was
early December.
that was kind of the debut of the place. Then?
That was the big. It was like a week after they opened. It was the big sort of first event at the Mirage.
Pretty good event. Pretty good
And
fight.
yeah, back then that's awesome.
Did how many times they fight? Twice? They fight twice.
This was the third.
Third.
I think it was a
one.
trilogy. This was the third one.
And Duran won, right? Did Duran win? Did Duran win 2 out of 3? I think he did, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You probably
Sugar
covered
Ray?
it, Reusse.
I did not. I did not. I covered. I think I might have covered one of them, but I'm not sure it was the third one. I did cover one of them.
Ooh.
We used to go out there and cover fights.
Yeah, I know you did.
The fight
Yeah.
was billed uno mas, which is great.
No, yeah.
And it was won via 12-round unanimous decision by Sugar Ray Leonard.
Oh, Sugar Ray. Okay. Yeah. It was. Yeah. Boxing was. Speaking of things that might have been a little bigger back then, boxing
Yeah.
might have been one of them. Do you know that you see what's happening to boxing? Don't you? The Saudis are running it now. It's pretty much they have that same outfit that's trying to run everything else. Including they're trying to take over golf, which they haven't succeeded in. But the Saudis are like, we haven't had a card here at the Armory all year this year because they can't get a main eventer coming in here because Morale's gonna fight in Vegas here pretty soon. I think it's Vegas, maybe L.A. But
So
they don't
okay,
have a main eventer. I mean, and they were packing them in at the Armory, and they were doing 4 cards a year, and there hasn't been one yet. So this year.
so it looks like the two main heavyweight boxers right now, the WBO, are Alexander Usyk and a guy named Joseph Parker. Would you rather watch those two guys fight each other, or if Duran and Leonard, or Greg Norman versus Rory McIlroy in a boxing match?
Yeah, that's right. It's I don't know. What other complaint I got while we're at it? Tennis. Who the hell are these people? We got the Joker and we got Alcaraz, but you look at women's tennis.
Yeah.
If you didn't grow up in Slovenia, you don't have a chance. Who are they? What happened
It's
to
tough.
U.S.?
It is
What
remarkable.
happened to our lazy women in this country that we don't have any tennis players who can make the final 8, for God's sakes?
And you used to know, like, for the
Yes.
championship, right? You
Yes.
would know both players. Now
Yes.
you're lucky
Now
if you know
you
one
can-
of them.
Now you can't spell either one of the players.
Oh, heck
So
no.
it's, you got no chance. So there's, I don't know. There's sometime the world becoming so international isn't a good thing, and tennis is one of them. Who, you know, Monica Seles against Steffi Graf. Let's go back to there. Come on, let's we got stabbings taking place and stuff like that. That was people are. That's the only time I went to the U.S. Open was when Seles, after she got stabbed, a couple of years later, came back and played Graf and for the championship. That was great. I think Steffi beat her though because she was. But Monica also brought the Yelp to tennis.
That had to drive you crazy.
It was
Yeah,
pretty
she-
obnoxious.
She brought the Yelp. She
Capriati did too, right?
Yeah.
It was both of them.
Right. Yeah, but Monica was. Yeah.
Not Reusse approved.
Not Racey approved. No yelping, no anthem before the home run derby. Let's have those.
Alcaraz though is he's
good.
pacing ahead of the other 3 that just owned tennis for 20 years.
Well, he's dynamic. You know the Netflix series they did it 2 years in a row, Breaking Point, and Katie and I watched the first one, and I really got into it because the angst of these people as they get to it. You're a fringe. You're like top 15 or something, and all of a sudden you're in the quarterfinals, and your head's ready to explode, and you get beat, and you're depressed for weeks. And I mean, it's amazing. And then the men, their great matches last 4 hours, and when they play the 5 sets things, and so. But Alcaraz the Joker might be over for Djokovic. Alcaraz beat him in 3 sets, quick too. I think 2 hours, right? So
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
that's
a wrap for
our
the
complaints
Joker.
today. And
Good stuff
meanwhile, we
today.
now have a 5-day break for baseball. That's another lament of mine. What's going on here? We don't.
What if they just got rid of the All-Star game and the home run derby and just didn't take a break? Just play, get your season over a week ahead of time,
Well, that's not happening. But it wouldn't be. It's that's like they're going to get the big guy. Skeens is going to start tonight. Yay, hooray. Might throw 8 pitches.
Yeah.
It's not
Be out
like
after an inning.
It's not like when the All-Star game was here in '65, Juan Marichal went 3, and then they and then they had Gibson to finish it, and they had Koufax, and they had Drysdale, and they had those fellas. So anyway, yeah, it's not an event anymore. That's for sure. And just
No.
thanks to the players, they'll do everything they can. I used to like the ones at the All Star game. They try to encourage them to stick around now, but before they were playing 3 innings, going in, showering, and go out and taking their plane and going.
Yep.
They were in the air before the game was over.
I was at the game that was in Milwaukee, 2002-ish.
Yes.
And I was out back.
You were there for the tie. Huh?
I was out back at the Fox trailer because I was doing TV stuff, and out of it's the 4th or so, out walked Jeter, Posada, and another Yankee on the way to the airport to go catch their private plane home.
Fifth inning or so.
Yeah.
So it's funny. People are ripping Bud Selig. Why don't you just let them sub players back in? They're back in New York.
They were gone. Those guys were home.
The thing is, who I blame? Joe Torre, because Torre agreed he didn't want Brenly to look like an idiot, so he said, "Yeah, we're out of pitchers too. We can't go along." Well, they had pitchers left. They had pitchers left, and Bud should have said, "Tough bananas." Get somebody to pitch. But they came over to Bud, and Bud took all the heat. But it was the 2 managers who came over and begged him to stop the game because Brenly had used all his pitchers. He didn't save anyone. So
why couldn't a position player have just come out and lobbed a meatball and someone hits a walk-off home?
Get somebody's father from you're eligible.
That's what I was going to
say. You're eligible to play in the All-Star game if you pitched.
You know what?
The home run derby.
End it with a home run derby.
Yes,
and that's where you tell now Judge and Ohtani, get your butts out there. We're going to end this with you guys having a home run off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to know if I'm going to watch tonight because I probably won't. And then Correa is not playing. So, but hey, I still think it's a neat deal that Willie Castro's in the game because
it is cool.
The stuff that he's gone through.
I give you 2 innings, Pat. I think you will watch, but I give you no more than 2. But before you go to Netflix or something else.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, I might. Yeah. I might. But it's certainly not the event. What was the first? I covered a few, but the first really bad one I watched. 85 Minnesota was bad.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was a terrible game.
Boring.
Except we did get to see Nolan Ryan throw it 2 heads because he was still mad at Henderson and Winfield because they'd strutted after home runs when he used to be in the American League. So he carried the grudge for 8 years or something.
I love it.
That was him. But baseball's in trouble. There's no doubt about it. And not being on TV doesn't help.
No, it does not. So, all right, Pat. Well, we will. So it's Joe Mauer week here.
Oh, that's right.
So we'll talk to you. We'll rearrange the schedule. We'll talk to you tomorrow and then Friday.
Okay, good enough. I'll be on the way to Cooperstown Friday, so we can talk there, and then we'll figure out something for Monday too. So
sounds good.
All right.
Reusse Unchained on Score North.